August 9, 2026, Eastern Mediterranean, 01:58 a.m. Darkness absolute, sea calm, clear conditions. USS Porter, Arleigh Burke, Flight 2A guided missile destroyer conducting routine patrol in international waters 90 miles north of Cyprus. Emission control posture moderate. AN/SPY-1D radar active. Search pattern normal. Communication steady. In the Combat Information Center, radar operators monitored displays showing typical maritime traffic. Commercial vessels transiting established shipping lanes. Civilian aircraft on standard routes. Nothing unusual, nothing threatening. At 01:58 and 07 seconds, that changes. The radar display distorts. Ghost contacts appearing. Real targets fuzzing. Signal-to-noise ratio degrading rapidly. Senior radar operator recognizes the signature immediately. CIC, radar, we are being actively jammed. Bearing 093 degrees. Narrowband noise, directional, deliberate electronic attack. This isn't atmospheric interference. Isn't equipment malfunction. Isn't random radio frequency noise. This is hostile jamming. Deliberate attempt to blind the destroyer's primary sensor. Degrade target tracking. Create uncertainty about threat environment. Someone wants USS Porter's radar disabled, wants the ship operating blind, wants to create tactical advantage through electronic warfare. What the attacker doesn't realize is that the moment they activated their jammer, they made a catastrophic tactical error. Because radar jamming isn't invisibility, it's a transmission, a signal, an electromagnetic signature broadcasting position with precision comparable to radar itself. Every waveform, every frequency choice, every modulation pattern, all revealing information, direction, distance, type of jamming system, power output, operational characteristics. By attempting to hide from the radar, the jammer revealed exactly where it was located, and USS Porter's electronic warfare systems were already responding, not just defending, counterattacking. What happens over the next 17 minutes will demonstrate why attempting to jam U.S. Navy radar is one of the worst tactical decisions any adversary can make. This is the breakdown of electronic warfare, how it actually works, what really happens when you try to blind American warships, and why jamming creates more problems than it solves. The jamming signature. 01:58:07. Understanding what happened requires understanding the fundamental physics of radar jamming. Radar works by transmitting electromagnetic pulses. When those pulses hit objects, they reflect back. The radar receives those reflections, calculates range, bearing, speed, creates tactical picture. Jamming attempts to disrupt this process. The jammer transmits powerful electromagnetic noise on the same frequencies the radar uses, overwhelming the weak reflected signals, making it impossible for radar to distinguish real returns from noise. Effective jamming requires three things. First, correct frequency. Jammer must transmit on frequencies the target radar uses. Wrong frequency means radar ignores the jamming completely. Second, sufficient power. Jamming signal must be stronger than radar returns. Otherwise, radar filters it out as background noise. Third, proper modulation. Jamming waveform must match characteristics that degrade radar processing. Random noise, swept frequency, deceptive signals. Each technique requires different approach. At 01:58:07, the jamming signal attacking USS Porter demonstrated all three characteristics, proving this was sophisticated electronic warfare, not amateur interference. But here's what the attacker didn't account for. Modern U.S. Navy warships don't just have radar. They have integrated electronic warfare suites specifically designed to detect, analyze, and counter jamming. USS Porter's AN/SLQ-32V3 electronic warfare system detected the jamming signal within 0.3 seconds, 0.3 of 1 second from jamming activation to detection and analysis. The system immediately performed direction finding, using multiple antenna arrays positioned around the ship to triangulate the jamming source, comparing signal arrival times at different receivers, calculating bearing with precision better than 1 degree, bearing to jamming source 093 degrees, east-northeast, high confidence. Next, power analysis, measuring received signal strength, estimating transmitter power based on propagation models, calculating approximate range. Estimated range to jammer, 73 to 86 nautical miles, based on signal strength and propagation characteristics. Next, technical analysis. The system's AI examined jamming waveform, frequency range, modulation type, Pulse characteristics, compared against database of known jamming systems. Classification, probable Russian SPR-2M RTUT-BM radar jamming system, ground-based, designed specifically to disrupt SPY-1 radar on Aegis destroyers, confirming this wasn't random interference. This was targeted electronic attack. Total analysis time, 2.4 seconds. At 01:58:10, 3 seconds after jamming began, USS Porter knew exact bearing to jamming source, approximate range, system type and capabilities. Threat assessment, hostile electronic warfare. The jammer believed they'd achieved surprise, created confusion, degraded American sensors. Reality, they'd revealed their exact position to electronic warfare systems they didn't know were watching. The counter-jam response, 01:58:15. At 01:58:15, USS Porter's electronic warfare suite initiated automatic counter-jamming response. The response wasn't defensive, it was offensive. First technique, reactive jamming. The ANSLQ-32 analyzed the incoming jamming signal, identified its specific frequency, generated counter-signal precisely matched to interfere with the jammer's own receivers. Because here's what most people don't understand about jamming. The jammer must receive radar signals to know what frequency to jam. Otherwise, they're transmitting blindly, hoping they hit the right frequency. The counter-jamming signal targeted those receiving systems, overloading them with false radar signatures, making it impossible for the jammer to track Porter's actual radar frequency. Within 8 seconds, the jamming signal began drifting off frequency. The jammer's receivers were being overwhelmed by counter-jamming, couldn't maintain accurate track of Porter's radar, jamming effectiveness degrading. But Porter's electronic warfare officer wasn't satisfied with degrading the jammer. He wanted to eliminate it. At 01:58:31, he authorized next-level response, offensive electronic attack. The ANSLQ-32 system can do more than jam. It can inject malicious signals into adversary electronic systems. Cyber attack via electromagnetic transmission. The system analyzed the SPR-2M's known vulnerabilities. Russian jamming systems use specific control protocols, specific command structures, and those protocols have exploitable weaknesses. The electronic warfare suite began transmitting carefully crafted signals, not random jamming, precise data packets designed to exploit software vulnerabilities in the jamming system's control computer. These signals mimicked legitimate commands, told the jamming system to change frequencies, reduce power, enter diagnostic mode, execute shutdown sequence. At 01:58:47, the jamming signal abruptly ceased, complete silence on affected frequencies. The electronic warfare officer smiled. Jammer neutralized, appear to have achieved control system compromise. Target no longer emitting. 16 seconds from authorization to complete shutdown of adversary jamming system. Through offensive cyber attack delivered electromagnetically, but eliminating the jamming was just the beginning, because now Porter had precise location of hostile electronic warfare asset, and that information had significant tactical value. The radar adaptation, 01:59:03. While electronic warfare neutralized the jammer, USS Porter's radar demonstrated another capability that made the jamming attempt futile from the start. Modern naval radar isn't fixed frequency system, it's adaptive, can change operating parameters faster than jammers can adjust. At 01:59:03, Porter's ANSPY-1D radar automatically implemented frequency hopping protocol. The radar changed its operating frequency, not to adjacent frequency, to completely different band, outside the jammer's effective range, beyond their capability to track and target. Frequency hop duration, 0.15 seconds, faster than any manual jamming system could follow. The radar continued normal operations on new frequency, full detection capability, complete tactical picture, unaffected by jamming that was targeting frequency the radar no longer used. At 01:59:19, the radar hopped again, different frequency, different waveform, maintaining unpredictability. This is why attempting to jam U.S. Navy radar is fundamentally futile. The radar adapts faster than jammers can respond, changes frequencies automatically, modifies waveforms continuously, operates across spectrum too wide for any jammer to cover effectively. By the time jammer acquires new frequency, radar has moved again. By the time jammer adjusts, radar has changed waveform. Endless adaptation cycle that jammer cannot win. But Porter's response went beyond just negating the jamming. The crew was now focused on what the jamming attempt revealed. Someone hostile was operating 75 to 80 miles east, and they'd just given away their exact position. The targeting sequence. 02. Satin. At October 17, USS Porter's tactical action officer began developing strike options against the identified jamming source. The jamming attempt provided precise geolocation. Bearing, 093 degrees. Range, approximately 78 nautical miles based on refined signal analysis. That position correlated with known territory, northern Syria, region controlled by adversary forces, area containing multiple military installations. The tactical action officer pulled up satellite imagery of the region. Overlaid jamming source location, found probable site, military facility with multiple antenna arrays, consistent with electronic warfare installation. He briefed the commanding officer. Captain, we have precise location on hostile jammer. Recommend we develop strike package. Request authorization to engage. The captain considered options. Jamming attack on U.S. warship constituted hostile act. Justified proportional response. Strike authorization available under standing rules of engagement. But destroying the jamming site with Tomahawk cruise missiles would reveal Porter's anti-jamming capabilities. Would confirm to adversaries that U.S. systems can geolocate jammers precisely. Better to preserve that uncertainty. Instead, intelligence collection, electronic warfare monitoring, continued tracking. Negative on kinetic strike. Maintain electronic surveillance. I want complete signals intelligence on that installation. Every transmission, every frequency, every system they operate. This is intelligence goldmine. Because here's the strategic calculation. Dead jammer stops transmitting. Live jammer continues revealing capabilities through every transmission. Better intelligence value from monitoring than destroying. At 02043, Porter's electronic warfare suite shifted to passive collection mode, recording every electromagnetic emission from the identified facility, building comprehensive profile of adversary electronic warfare capabilities, but the tactical action officer ensured strike options remained available, just in case. The multi-ship coordination, 02.03.29. At 02.03.29, USS Porter's Combat Information Center received encrypted transmission from another platform. USS Gravely, Arleigh Burke destroyer operating 140 miles south, had also detected the jamming signal. Different bearing, different range calculation, but same source. Two ships, different positions, both detecting same jammer. This enabled triangulation with extreme precision. Porter's bearing, 093 degrees, Gravely's bearing, 017 degrees. Where those bearing lines intersected, exact jammer location. Latitude 35.7 degrees north, longitude 36.2 degrees east. Precision within 50 meters. The two ships shared data through Link 16 Tactical Data Network, combining sensor information, creating unified tactical picture, coordinating response options. If kinetic strike became necessary, both ships could engage simultaneously, overwhelming any defenses, ensuring target destruction. But coordination extended beyond surface ships. At 020415, P-8 Poseidon Maritime Patrol aircraft operating 200 miles west received updated tasking. Divert to Syrian coast. Deploy signals intelligence collection assets. Maintain surveillance of identified electronic warfare facility. Collect additional intelligence on adversary capabilities. The P-8 carried sophisticated electronic intelligence equipment, could intercept communications, monitor radar emissions, build detailed profile of adversary electronic order of battle. At 020451, RC-135 Rivet Joint Signals Intelligence aircraft already orbiting over international waters received coordination from Porter. Redirect collection priorities toward identified facility. Maximum intelligence exploitation. What began as jamming attempt against one destroyer had triggered coordinated intelligence collection operation involving multiple ships, aircraft, and classified reconnaissance assets. The adversary revealed one installation. U.S. forces were now mapping their entire regional electronic warfare network. Every transmission analyzed, every system cataloged, complete intelligence picture developing. The escalation option, EO2-0744. At EO2-0744, the jamming signal reappeared. Different frequency, same location. The adversary had repaired or bypassed the cyber compromise, attempting to resume electronic attack. USS Porter's electronic warfare suite detected it immediately, countered within seconds. But this second attempt triggered different calculation. First jamming, intelligence opportunity. Second jamming, persistent threat, requiring response. The tactical action officer updated his recommendation. Captain, hostile jammer has resumed operations. Assess this as sustained electronic attack. Recommend we escalate response. Request authorization for warning strike. The captain nodded. One jamming attempt could be mistake. Probe, test of defenses. Two attempts indicated deliberate hostile intent. Justified stronger response. Approved. Prepare Tomahawk strike. Single missile. Precision strike on jamming installation. Minimize collateral damage. This is warning shot. We can find them. We can hit them. Make the point clear. At 02:08:17, USS Porter's weapons officer calculated firing solution. Range to target, 78 nautical miles. One Tomahawk cruise missile. GPS guided. Precision within 3 meters. Programmed to strike primary antenna array. At 02:08:39, vertical launch cell opened. Tomahawk missile emerged on gas generator. Rocket motor ignited. Missile climbed toward cruise altitude. Launch flash visible for miles. Unmistakable signature. Adversary observers would see it, track it, understand missile was inbound. The Tomahawk flew low, following terrain, navigating through pre-programmed waypoints. GPS guided with terrain matching backup. Impossible to jam or divert. Flight time to target, 9 minutes 12 seconds. At 02:09:03, the jamming signal ceased. Completely. No attempt to resume. No further transmissions. Adversary forces had detected missile launch, calculated trajectory, realized the jammer they'd activated was now targeted for destruction. Shut down immediately, attempting to avoid strike. But Tomahawk was already inbound. Target coordinates locked. Strike inevitable. At 02:17:51, 9 minutes 12 seconds after launch, the Tomahawk reached target coordinates. Terminal guidance activated. GPS position confirmed. Ground mapping radar verified target location. Precisely matched pre-programmed coordinates. 1,000-pound warhead detonated directly over jamming installation's primary antenna array. Explosion visible on satellite imagery. Antenna structures destroyed. Electronic equipment obliterated. Facility rendered non-operational. Not complete destruction. Not facility-wide devastation. Surgical strike targeting specific capability that threatened U.S. warship. Message delivered. You can attempt to jam our radar. We will find you. We will hit you. With precision you cannot defend against. The intelligence windfall. 02:19:33. At 02:19:33, after Tomahawk impact, USS Porter's electronic warfare suite continued monitoring the region, collecting signals intelligence from adversary response. What they detected was remarkable. The strike triggered massive communication surge. Adversary forces reporting attack, requesting damage assessment, coordinating emergency response. All those communications, intercepted, recorded, analyzed. RC-135 rivet joint collected voice communications, identified commanders, mapped command relationships, understood organizational structure. P-8 Poseidon intercepted data transmissions, encrypted links between facilities, network architecture revealed through traffic analysis, USS Porter and gravely monitored radar emissions, adversary air defense activating, search patterns revealing sensor locations, gaps in coverage identified. The intelligence collected in 20 minutes after strike exceeded months of routine peacetime collection. Crisis response forced adversaries to activate systems, reveal capabilities, expose networks. This is second-order effect of counter-jamming strike, not just destroying the jammer, creating intelligence opportunity through adversary response to strike. By 02:25:0, intelligence analysis had identified 17 additional electronic warfare sites in region, command and control network architecture, air defense radar locations and capabilities, communications protocols and encryption methods, response timelines and coordination procedures, command authority and decision-making structure, all from monitoring adversary reaction to one precision strike against one jamming installation. The tactical action officer compiled assessment report. Captain, strike was successful. Target destroyed, but intelligence value exceeded kinetic effect significantly. We now have comprehensive picture of adversary electronic warfare network across entire region. The strategic lesson. 02:31. At 0231 SU, USS Porter secured from general quarters, returned to normal patrol operations, radar functioning normally, no further jamming detected. The engagement lasted 33 minutes, from initial jamming attempt to Tomahawk impact to intelligence collection completion. Adversary losses. 1 electronic warfare installation destroyed. Electronic warfare network architecture exposed. 17 additional sites identified for targeting. Command structure revealed. Response procedures compromised. Tactical doctrine exposed. U.S. Navy expenditure. 1 Tomahawk cruise missile. $2 million. Intelligence value. Incalculable. But the real impact was strategic. Deterrence messaging to adversaries worldwide. Attempting to jam U.S. Navy radar doesn't create advantage, it creates vulnerability, because jamming reveals jammer location, triggers electronic counterattack, justifies kinetic response, exposes broader network. The jamming attempt was supposed to blind USS Porter, create tactical window for follow-on operations, provide advantage. Instead, it triggered precise geolocation of jammer within seconds, cyber compromise of jamming system, coordinated intelligence collection operation, precision strike eliminating capability, complete mapping of regional electronic warfare network. Every adversary considering electronic warfare against U.S. forces must now calculate, is temporary radar degradation worth revealing my position? Worth triggering strike? Worth exposing my entire electronic warfare infrastructure? The technical superiority. Understanding why jamming fails requires understanding the technical gap between U.S. systems and adversary capabilities. Modern U.S. Navy radar operates across multiple frequency bands. S-band, X-band, can switch between them in milliseconds. Jammer targeting one band is irrelevant when radar operates on another. Waveform diversity. Modern radar doesn't transmit simple pulses, uses sophisticated waveforms, frequency modulation, phase coding, low probability of intercept techniques, extremely difficult to jam effectively. Adaptive processing. Radar AI continuously analyzes signal environment, adjusts parameters automatically, optimizes performance against jamming, faster than human operators, faster than manual jamming systems. Electronic warfare integration. Radar and electronic warfare systems share data instantly. When jamming detected, both systems respond simultaneously. Radar adapts. Electronic warfare counterattacks. Coordinated defense impossible for adversary to overcome. Network coordination. Multiple ships share radar data. If one radar jammed, others provide coverage. Networked sensors eliminate single point of failure. Jamming one ship doesn't create gap in coverage. Adversary jamming systems lack these capabilities. Operate on fixed frequencies, use predictable waveforms, require manual operation, can't adapt at machine speed, can't coordinate across multiple platforms. Result? Technical mismatch. U.S. systems adapt faster than adversary jamming can respond. American electronic warfare defeats adversary jamming comprehensively. The future implications. What happened in Eastern Mediterranean represents validation of electronic warfare doctrine that's been developing for 2 decades. In historical naval warfare, jamming provided tactical advantage. Radio frequency interference degraded radar, created gaps in surveillance, enabled attacks through degraded coverage. That era ended when adaptive radar and integrated electronic warfare became operational. Modern systems don't just resist jamming, they exploit it. Jamming reveals position, enables geolocation, justifies strike. Every adversary must calculate whether temporary degradation is worth these consequences. This changes deterrence calculus. Adversaries developing jamming capabilities must recognize those capabilities create vulnerabilities. Electronic warfare becomes double-edged sword. Some militaries will abandon jamming entirely, recognize that silence preserves survivability better than transmission. Better to remain undetected than attempt to jam and reveal position. Others will develop more sophisticated jamming. But as jamming sophistication increases, so does signature complexity. More sophisticated jamming creates more detailed intelligence for U.S. collection. Net result: U.S. maintains decisive electronic warfare advantage, not through preventing jamming, through ensuring jamming creates more problems for adversary than it solves. 01:58 a.m. Eastern Mediterranean. Return to opening moment. USS Porter operating normally. Radar active. Then jamming attempt begins. What adversary intended? Blind American radar. Degrade tracking capability. Create tactical advantage. Enable follow-on operations. What actually happened? Jammer geolocated within 2.4 seconds. Electronic counterattack disabled jammer in 16 seconds. Radar adapted to new frequency, unaffected. Precision strike destroyed jamming installation. Complete intelligence picture of regional electronic warfare network. Total time, 33 minutes from jamming attempt to target destruction. This is electronic warfare reality, not Hollywood version where jamming creates blind spots. Real version where jamming creates targeting opportunities. Because in modern naval operations, transmission equals vulnerability. Every signal reveals information. Every electromagnetic emission provides data for analysis, geolocation, and strike. The ship that attempts to blind U.S. Navy radar discovers they've painted target on themselves. Precise, unmistakable, impossible to hide. This is what happens when you try to jam U.S. Navy warships' radar. You reveal your position, you trigger counterattack, you justify kinetic response, you expose your network, you provide intelligence windfall. All while failing to achieve meaningful radar degradation. The jamming lasts seconds. The consequences last indefinitely. USS Porter continues patrol. Radar functioning perfectly. Electronic warfare suite enhanced by new intelligence on adversary capabilities. Ready for next challenge. The jamming installation. Destroyed. Silent. Eliminated as threat. Message delivered to adversaries worldwide. Jamming U.S. Navy radar is suicide. Electronic warfare against American forces creates more risk than benefit. Silence is survival. Transmission is death. Welcome to modern electronic warfare, where the most dangerous thing you can do is turn on your jammer, because the moment you transmit, you've already lost. And 17 minutes later, you cease to exist. Never jam U.S. Navy radar. The signal you send becomes the coordinates we strike.